I come in.
Please come in.
Thank you, sir.
Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Zinnia.
Yes, sir.
Zinnia Aurora.
Yes.
So what is the reason you have Aurora in your spelling?
So my dad comes from a botany enthusiasm and my mom is an English literature graduate. So I think the creativity bent the name a bit from Arora to an Aurora.
Was it based on some numerology or something like that?
No, sir, pure creativity.
Okay. What are the auroras?
So the auroras are elements of ionosphere wherein the coronal mass ejections strike against the magnetosphere of the Earth, and that leads to those dangling hues of blue, green, etc.
Where do we see these auroras?
So North Pole, South Pole, and interestingly, recently they've also been seen in a decentralized manner across Europe and the northern peripheries of the Earth.
And what do these protect us from? I mean, you talked about the magnetosphere or ionosphere. What do they protect us from?
So the solar radiation, so as I mentioned, coronal mass ejections, which are on a high at this
You mean
point.
solar flares? Is it the same thing?
Yes, sir. Solar flares are a subset of coronal mass ejections.
All right. You have been born and brought up in Delhi.
I was born in Rohtak, sir, which is in Haryana, but mostly brought up in Delhi.
Zinnia, so you studied from St. Stephen's College.
Yes, sir.
You studied economics and political science.
Yes.
What is behavior economics that we often hear about?
So behavior economics essentially looks at the nudges that are created or the impact that macro and microeconomics have on the behavior of an individual. An example I can think of is nudge economics, sir.
Yes?
Nudge economics.
Nudge economics. What does nudge economics say?
So nudge economics essentially refers to certain tinkering, if you will, of people's behavior by direct or indirect nudges that policymakers might give them.
You've done some community work in Ghana.
Yes, sir.
What was exactly your work there?
Sir, so this was during the COVID time. My organization, PSEX, we gathered a force of around 20 volunteers and we translated our erstwhile bookpacker modules, which were on financial literacy, etc., which are key to Ghana's economy.
I'm afraid, Zinnia, you will have to be a little louder and a little slower so that I can
really
fully
sorry,
understand
sir.
you.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, sir. Sir, so my organization, PSEX, we gathered around 24 volunteers from across the globe and we translated our bookpacker modules, which is another program that my organization runs on financial literacy, sustainable development studies, etc., into the Braille language. So this was made accessible via the government of Ghana and EBLF, which is a foundation that the government runs.
All right. You have interest in street plays and writing poetry and trekking. What street plays have you done?
So street plays were a rather memorable experience of college times. So these would essentially be related to socio-economic causes or taking schemes of the government to the last mile across Delhi.
Talking of schemes of government, tell me once, which scheme of government do you think has been the most beneficial welfare measure in the past 2 decades?
So the one that comes to mind is the Jan Dhan bank accounts that were proliferated and they essentially helped eventualize a lot of other schemes, say for example all the ones that involve direct benefit transfers.
Why is DBT such a game changer?
So there are various reasons. The very first one is to curb the leakages. Second one is to bring cashless economy, so to say, into force. The third one is to ensure that we're able to provide the kind of financial accessibility to the last mile, because the Jan Dhan accounts were made in a measure to ensure that women from the very lowest strata, from rural areas, are able to access better credit and things of the sort.
You have been the head of Diplomacy Council. How do you define diplomacy?
So that is a rather vivid description that I might have. Diplomacy is anything that requires persuasion and furthering of one's interests, whether that is countries, nations, groups, etc.
Name any two diplomats from the 4 yugas that we have, from any 2 yugas. The Satyug has been over, and just allow me. Yes, any two diplomats.
So I couldn't understand the period you were referring to.
Okay, from our mythology.
Okay, so I think the first one that comes to mind is Lord Hanuman. The way he swiveled across Sri Lanka, trying to ensure that he was able to further the interests of his sovereign, that is Lord Ram. The second one that comes to mind, sir, would be from the Mahabharat. Perhaps a lot of them come to mind, actually. I think Lord Krishna.
What was the difference in the nature of diplomacy pursued by Lord Krishna versus Hanuman?
So I think Lord Krishna's diplomacy was more a game of the mind. And if I was to look at the relative pragmatism that Lord Hanuman used, it was more hard power oriented.
So India is a soft power or hard power? What do you think?
So I think a mix of two. India is pacing itself to become a smart power.
Does foreign policy matter to the Aam Aadmi?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Why? I mean, I think as a Aam Aadmi, I'm more concerned about my roads, my electricity, maybe 2,100 rupees, which I'll get because I'm a citizen of Delhi. I mean, a resident of Delhi. But apart from that, why does foreign policy matter to the Aam Aadmi or to me? I mean, I'm more concerned with domestic policy of the state.
So foreign policy, if I was to cite an example, from petroleum to the goods that we use, to the infrastructure that we have, to the railways, the wagons that we have, to the Bombay Dire, in fact, engines that we use on our very own Delhi Metro. All of that is a result of the frontline service that is the Indian Foreign Service and diplomacy. And that is how every day, every citizen of India interfaces with the foreign policy. And hence, I think foreign policy is definitely a measure of a common person's day and life.
Okay, you won the Hult Prize in Entrepreneurship. How is a businessman different from an entrepreneur?
Sir, a businessman can be said to be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur essentially has that different, okay, if I was to quote Why Nations Fail, a creative destruction of sorts. And an entrepreneur comes with that, even if it is slight, a tenor of destabilizing or creating that difference from the erstwhile workings. However, a businessman could also be a status quoist, doesn't essentially have to be 100% pure entrepreneur trying to raise everything from the ground.
You have been awarded MUFG Bank of Japan Scholarship. Why were you given this award?
So the award is given for 3 parameters: academic excellence, exemplary leadership, and personality. And the third one was, I will have to paraphrase this, exemplary character.
All right. You've also gotten letters of excellence from Delhi Vidhan Sabha and Commonwealth Parliamentary Association.
Yes, sir.
So is Commonwealth dead?
No, sir. The Commonwealth is not dead. Whilst it has modified itself in the ways it was relevant earlier, it was more of a political congregation of the erstwhile British colonies earlier, and now it has become more than just that, in that it pursues socio-economic ends. Charities are funded by it across these erstwhile colonies. And a very recent example that comes to mind is the Commonwealth Essay Prize that is run to ensure young minds are given that avenue of expression.
So you want to join the Indian Foreign Service?
Yes, sir.
Why? What is your Why do you want to join the Indian Foreign Service?
Sir, I think I'll be able to reasonably shoulder the responsibilities of a diplomat, considering I come from uh, a background which has allowed me to chisel my communication skills. I have a keen interest in diplomacy. And in addition to that, I think I'm someone who can individualize efforts and tailor them to the needs and wants of the day.
What is our biggest fear in Bangladesh?
Sir, I think since it shares a very large border with the Northeast region, national security imperatives could perhaps be one of the bigger bonuses that we have.
In what ways can instability in Bangladesh threaten India's national security?
So there are various measures. The first one being the release of certain Ulfa-related prisoners by the Bangladesh judiciary very recently. It could fuel insurgency in a few states, firstly. Secondly, drug peddling is a very major issue, considering it's very close to Myanmar as well. So that would be the
If there is only one concern, what would you say it is?
I think so. The refugee, the large influx of Bangladeshis into India, which can have different impacts. So I think that was the one major problem.
All right, Zinnia. One last question. What does your name mean?
So Zinnia is a flower.
All right, that is all your interview is over.
Thank you, sir.
So Zinnia, when is your interview?
So 31st January.
31st. You are doing fine. You are prepared. What are your biggest fears? In Bangladesh, wala question, you could have said that, sir, our biggest fear is that it should not turn into another Pakistan.
Yes, sir.
Using it as an adjective. Hai na?
Okay, sir.
You are doing quite well. Now, in your communication skills journey also, this will be the trajectory. One will be your energy levels, your natural self, where you're speaking too many words. In this, the two red flags are there, is that because you have too many things to say, you speak it very fast, because you will think that I will be impatient. So, tum jaldi jaldi chahoge main sab kuch bol दूं, whereas I'm not interested. So, if that problem happens, then there's a problem. And the third phase is when you have let the calmness dawn on you, you can say, ki, sir, auroras are, skylights seen in the northern hemisphere, and these are created by the coronal mass, and that is when it meets. 2-3 line mein you will get that phase. So in case you are having this tussle, it is a good idea to reach that Zen stage. You will find
I answered just like that in the first 2 mocks. I don't know what happened today. That is why I think the mental battle thing that you mentioned.
So that is because you were taken aback.
Yes, sir. Understood.
And so it will. But I will overall say that I am fully satisfied with your performance. In the first 2-3 minutes, there will be a problem where the candidate will underperform because of nervousness or because of getting started. So on that front, you are doing quite well. I did not feel that you're going through any of such phases. Only thing which I feel is you try practicing it, be loud and let each word be understood. So abhi aap loudness par thoda sa focus kariye and try extempore. Like every day 5 minutes, nahi to you send a record, an audio or a video and then send it to me. Students have done that just for the accountability. And so you read great speeches, just download, search great speeches. So you will have friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. You try to do that. 2-3 din mein you will start seeing, because you will emulate them, you will start seeing that clarity come in your natural communication.
So one more thing that somebody told me, if I can ask, that I came across as very boastful to a few members in the previous 2 panels, because I was quoting people, or if I was, in general, they said that it seemed like there was a tussle between the panel and me. I did not want that to happen. That is not my personality, but I'm not sure whether my confidence, when it is the way it is sometimes, whether that edges into reduce or feel that today maybe.
So Zinnia, very truthfully, people in your communication, in your positions or with your communication skills, they do not get an average marks. So we will have to go with those chances. If you try to mitigate too much,
then it will be a problem.
then it will be on the other end. So what I'd advise you is that you have a natural flair for speaking. Only remember that you're talking to very senior people, that is all.
Yes, sir.
Apart from that, keep no holds bar. So what you do is you organize your thoughts. Are you doing some meditation? Honest
Yeah,
आंसर
try
बोलो.
to-
हाँ, थोड़ा सा एक बार ट्राई करो. 30 seconds या 1 minute. देखो, you have all it takes to be a winner for life. I'll tell you very clearly when depending on my exposure with the students. But one quality which I would want you to imbibe in the coming days, weeks, months and years for the rest of your life is that when you get a good advice, implement it. I mean, some of my best students are those कि अगर मैंने उसको बोला ना मेडिटेशन करने के लिए, तो दो लोग हैं. तो एक कहेगा सर मेरे पास समय नहीं है मेडिटेशन करने का, तो मैं नहीं कर पाया, बट आई फाउंड इट वेरी बोरिंग. नाउ ही इज गाइडेड हाउ ही फील्स अबाउट इट रादर देन व्हाट इज नीडेड टू बी डन. और दूसरा जो विनर बच्चा वो कहेगा कि सर मेरे पास भी टाइम बहुत कम है, लेकिन मैंने सोचा कि 1 minute का टाइमर लगा के मैंने किया तो मुझे ठीक लगा, तो अभी मैं 3-4 minutes तक कर लेता हूँ. तो नाउ दिस पर्सन विल गो वेरी मच अहेड इन लाइफ. मतलब वो धीरे धीरे करना शुरू कर देगा और एक दिन ही विल बीट मी इन मेडिटेशन. ऐसे बच्चे हैं. आई एम श्योर यू हैव ऑल द ट्रेट्स ऑफ दैट किड. आई एम टेलिंग दिस टू यू एक्सप्लिसिटली सो दैट you may not do it consciously, but subconsciously you may have been doing it. And now that I've told you explicitly, abhi se thoda sa meditation karo. Now in meditation you have to reach a phase where you start with some om or something, so that you are not fully tortured mentally with thoughts coming and going if you have an om chanting. But after that, in the second phase, you have to just be quiet. Shunya meditation means just let all the thoughts, that calmness will come in you, and you will suddenly you will have a jump in your performance.
Okay, so one last question. So, I saw transcripts from the past few weeks, and one thing that I saw in two people who I think might have been answering the way I answered, they started asking questions in Hindi, and then towards the fag end, the board asked them कि we were asking you questions in Hindi, why are you answering back in English? So इसका क्या answer? I don't know what to say to this. Is there
what is the correct, what would you give an answer?
Sir, I think as somebody who goes by protocol, when I was provided the avenue of preference, I put in English, and I think that is what I would like to stand by. But then that might come off as overconfident and boastful, so then I don't know.
Which language are you comfortable in?
Sir, English.
English. तो इसमें यही बोलिएगा कि sir, I try to reply in English because I was more comfortable with it.
Okay,
and as it was I wanted to perform my best, as it was my big day.
Okay, sir. Honest answer.
हाँ.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much.